So, Kahoot. Oh, in case you're joining us late, my name's Catherine. I work at the Portsmouth Public Library, and I am y'all's president. And I first used Kahoot during this pandemic. We did a Harry Potter trivia about a month and a half ago, and this is the platform we used. So what is Kahoot? Kahoot is an online platform for quizzes, trivia, and polls. Like I said, it's great for trivia nights. We also use it for our book club discussion groups to do little quizzes. You could put out polls, you can do challenges. All right, so see for yourself. We are going to do a quick Kahoot. So if you visit kahoot.it, and you can sort of see as I'm setting this up, I'll go over all this too, but this is what the back end of it looks like. So once you go to kahoot.it, you're going to put in that room code, and it's going to ask you for a nickname. I typically recommend that you use a separate device than the one you're using to read the screen. So if you're on your computer, I'd recommend using your smartphone. If you are on your phone, I recommend using a computer. You don't have to. It just makes it a little easier to read. And let's see. There is music, you can turn this music on. It's like waiting, it's kind of like elevator music, so I usually turn it off. But if you wanted to, you could have the music playing. When we did Harry Potter trivia, I put on the Harry Potter soundtrack, like on my phone. All right. Gonna go ahead and start. The great thing about Kahoot is even after I press start, the room code is still always on the screen, so anyone can join in to the game at any point. And this is just a 2-question quiz. So the first question, who wrote Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You? Was it red, Angie Thomas, blue, Carol Anderson and Tanya Bolden, yellow, Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi, or green, Nick Stone? Woohoo! Go Teen Librarians. We all know the author Stamped. I did mention this earlier. It's a great book. If you haven't had a chance to read it yet, I would recommend it. All right, and then we see the leaderboard. So each question is worth 1,000 points, and the faster you click the correct answer, the more points you get. So even though everyone got it right, we still have a leaderboard because Nikki answered the fastest. All right, next question. Which of these YA books were you most excited to see on the 2021 Flume shortlist? Red, Once and Future, blue, With the Fire on High, yellow, We Set the Dark on Fire, and green, They Called Us Enemy. So I just picked 4 of my favorite books from the list. There's 10 total books. They're all excellent if you have not seen the list yet. Well, pretty split results there. They Called Us Enemy seems to be number 1, followed by With Fire on High, We Set the Dark on Fire, and Once and Future. And then it will give you, at the very end, it'll give you your leaderboard. Second, third, second, and first place. It's very dramatic. Nikki, yay, confetti falls from the sky. And again, there is music, but I just turn it off because I find it to be kind of annoying. All right. Sorry. So that is what the Kahoot game looks like as a user. And now I'm just going to go through how to use Kahoot in the library. So the first thing is purchasing an account. So there is a free account. You can only have up to 10 players on that. So if you just want to use it for your book club, say you only have like 5 regulars and you want to just do a quick quiz at a book club, that would be fine. We have the pro account in Portsmouth. The one thing is, yeah, it is a little pricey. So it's $240 for the year, and that does bill you all at once. And the reason we ended up deciding to purchase it was because that's, you know, we would pay a performer, say, that much money to come do a program. So we're kind of thinking about it as a programming tool, especially now that we are all digital. The adult services team is also going to be using it, so they're going to be hosting monthly trivia nights since all the bars are closed, sort of as like an alternative to that. So we figured we got enough use out of it to make the purchase worthwhile. All right, so now to creating Kahoot. So this is what your homepage is going to look like. On the right there, you'll see a list of your Kahoots. And then up at the top there, there's a button that says Create. So when you're creating a Kahoot, you can either select a template. They have all these different family quiz, wedding quiz. I usually just pick the create from scratch. And there's lots of different types of questions that you can use in a quiz. So the quiz that we just took had a quiz question and it had a poll question. So the quiz, there's 4 answers. You only need to put in 2, but you can do up to 4. And there's a correct answer. True or false, there would obviously be a true or a false, and one is correct and one is not. The open-ended and the word cloud are only available in the premium account, which I believe is like $800 for the year. So we opted not to go with that one. The puzzle is pretty cool. Players have to rearrange the answers into the right order. It kind of reminds me a little bit of an escape room kind of a question. And then the poll, again, is the one that we did at the end, where there's no right answer, but you just might be curious to see people's opinions on things. And then lastly, you can add in slides. So for example, for our Harry Potter trivia, I had like 5 different categories, and before each category, I had a slide letting the players know what the new category was, if there were any special rules to this category, and just sort of breaking up the questions. So when you go to create a question, this is what your page is going to look like. You put your question in where it says type your question. You can either upload an image, or they actually have a very expansive image library. I mostly use that for the trivias I've created. Occasionally I'd upload an image. For example, there was no cover of Stamped in their image library, so I had to update that. But otherwise, you can pretty much find whatever you need in that library. You can change the time limit. So there's lots of options: 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20, 30, 60, 90, 120, 140. The one thing to remember is that there is a bit of a lag with screen sharing just in general. So you probably don't want to set it for only 5 or 10 seconds. I ended up doing 30 seconds for the questions for the kids and teens when I did Harry Potter, just because I wanted to read the questions out loud for them. The points, it's defaulted to be 1,000 points. You can do double points at 2,000, or you can change it to 0 points if you want it to not count towards their total number of points. And as we saw while we were doing the Kahoot, the more points, the faster you answer, the more points you're going to earn. And then the last setting you can change is that you can either have one correct answer, or you can actually have multiple answers that are correct. And that would be multi-select. All right, so then time to play. And you sort of saw me doing this as we were getting ready to play. But you go up here, it says Kahoots, and you'll find your Kahoot and press the play button. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either set it up as a host, or you can do challenge mode. So host would be in a setting like this, if we were all on a Zoom meeting, or maybe even this could be something you could use over Discord. It's just basically hosting. You need to share your screen. Challenge would be you say you wanted to email out something to your teams, so you created a poll about what kind of activities they want to do at the lock-in, and then you create the challenge on Kahoot and email it out to them, and they have a certain number of days to answer all the questions. All right, so host mode. So there's either classic or team mode. So what you're probably going to be using right now is classic mode. That means that every person playing has their own device. If we were in the physical library building, you could use a team mode. So say you have like 5 library iPads, and you wanted to not have the teams use their personal devices, you could set them up in groups and have like 3 people on each team using a library iPad. But it's not really going to work super well right now since we are all in different spaces. Yep, here's the screen that you all saw. The reason I recommend that you use a separate device is because, as you all just saw, you don't actually see the answers on your device. You just see the color and the shape. So if you're not reading the screen, like if you have to toggle back and forth on the same device, it can be kind of tricky to remember, oh, was Angie Thomas red or was she blue, to answer the question. So after you start your quiz and go through the questions, you have to manually be hitting the next button in order to move the quiz along, which is nice because you can always stop and chat. So like if we wanted to have a conversation about how much we love Stamped, or if say everyone chose Carol Anderson and Tanya Bolden as the answer, we could talk about, well, why did you think that? Actually, they wrote the book We Are Not Equal, which is similar themes, but it's a different book, so on and so forth. Oops. All right, so that's host mode. This is challenge mode. So if you hit challenge mode, it brings you to this screen. So this is going to take that exact same Kahoot, and it's going to turn it into a challenge. So you can choose what date you need it completed by. You can turn off the timer if you don't want them to have only 20 seconds for each question. Randomize the answer order. So that would be like if I took the quiz, it would go in a different order than if Andrew was taking the quiz, if Julia was taking the quiz. Nickname generator is a really handy tool. You can turn this on in both modes, and it doesn't allow people to create their own nickname. So if you're worried about people putting in something not appropriate for the library into that nickname bar there at the beginning, you could turn on the generator, and it's like this little wheel, and you spin it, and it'll give you a random nickname. And so the cool thing about the challenge, and the challenge is only available with the pro or the premium account, is that you can get statistics like right away really easily. It shows you how many people have taken it. It shows you if there were any questions that say everybody got wrong. It'll show you which questions people took the longest on. And that's just a good way to quickly get statistics, which I think lots of librarians tend to like statistics. Safety concerns. So, of course, we're always thinking about online safety. The great thing about Kahoot is that you need that game pin to join. And then if you're doing a challenge, you would need a link to join. The players cannot comment or chat with one another in Kahoot. If you're doing it over Zoom or something, of course, they could use the chat feature to be messaging each other, but in Kahoot itself, they can't actually interact with one another. You can remove players. So say you didn't want to do the nickname generator and then someone put in an offensive nickname, you can just boot that person right out of the game. And then again, the nickname generator is another sort of safety feature. Okay, so let me turn off my screen sharing. I have a very bad habit of talking super fast, so are there any questions about Kahoot?
How much time does it take to like enter a quiz? Is it pretty easy?
Oh, that's a good question, and I meant to mention. It depends on how many questions you have. So, like the Harry Potter one took me a really long time, quite honestly. It was pretty labor intensive. The good thing about Kahoot is that there are already pre-made quizzes. So I could have just typed in like Harry Potter trivia and I could have used something that someone already made. And I would be happy to share the trivia that I've already made. So you can, if you don't have hours and hours to spend creating it or plugging it in, that's a good option. It is very user friendly. It's just a little time consuming when you're typing everything out. That's a good question. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you again to all of our speakers for your amazing presentations. I will be sure to get these recordings up on YouTube as soon as possible, and I will go ahead and send out Julia's slides and my slides, and if anyone has any specific questions, I think most of the speakers put their contact info in the chat, but if you can't find it or can't remember, feel free to shoot me an email and I will connect you, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you, Kat. This was awesome.
Thank you, Julia, for doing 3 sessions in a row.
I didn't have to MC 5, so thank you.
Yeah.
Can you send me the link, and if you want me to upload it to the YouTube?
Oh, thanks, Mary Jo. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was recording the whole time.